Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you've been working at your coaching business for a while, you might have found out by now that it's not as easy as you thought to get clients. If that is you, I want to invite you to check out my free workshop sharing how to go from crickets to clients, creating a freebie funnel formula. So in the series, I share with you how to make a freebie that people actually want, that they actually opt into, so that you can grow your email list, so that you always have an audience to share your offers with. And you always have an audience where they are being nurtured by you, they're moving through the sales cycle, and you're not stuck every time you have a launch feeling like you have zero eyeballs on your content. So if that has been you, if you've been stuck in that and you know you need a bigger audience, you know you need to nurture your audience, go to haileyrowe.com/live event, all one word, to get the free series and get started. Today, I wanted to talk with you about what to do when you want to do everything in your business and you want to do everything in your business all at once. So if you are a type A personality, you get really excited about all the different things you want to do in your business, and that actually works at a disadvantage for you sometimes, then today's video is for you. So one of the things that happens when I work with clients in the inner circle and in private coaching is I tend to attract a lot of type A personalities where they're very ambitious, they want to grow their business and make an impact, but they tend to get swayed very easily by all the different ideas they hear, everything they see online. They're taking advice from a lot of different people, they're consuming a lot of different podcasts. And when you're starting a business and you don't know a lot about sales and marketing and you don't know a lot about having a business, it's very easy to be feeling pulled in a million different directions because you're not really grounded yet in your skills. You're not really sure if what you're doing is the right thing. You have like a lot of doubt and mistrust, not trusting yourself quite yet because you've never learned sales and marketing. You've never had your own business. So you just feel like everybody else must know more than you. And so you kind of get pulled in a million different directions. And the way that I see, the clients who come into my program, that's kind of the point they're at, where they're finally like, okay, I'm getting pulled in a million different directions, but what it's causing is for me to not produce anything. It's causing me to freeze. It's causing me to half ASS a million different things and not really focus on anything. And they're tired of it. And that's why they decide to go to one source, have one program, have step-by-step, have support in the inner circle. But even then, it can be really exciting to hear different things other people in the community are doing. And, even then we have to practice what we call constraint, which is what we're going to talk about today in this business, in this video. So there's kind of two things at play here that we need to work on. The first is raising your ability to have many different things going on at once. Because when you're a business owner, let's face it, no matter what, if you're a one-woman show or a one-man show or one-person team, you are going to wear many hats. You're going to write your posts. You're going to coach your clients. You're going to be doing your collaboration outreach, for example. And you do have to wear a lot of different hats. So part of the skill you're going to have to develop to be able to succeed as a business owner is being able to switch tasks, being able to put your creative hat on versus your coaching hat on and kind of separate the two and be able to hold space for a lot of different things happening at the same time. And the way that you start to build that capacity or capability is by starting very small, giving yourself small steps, giving yourself a time-batched day, seeing how you do with following it. And if you're not following it, breaking it down even more, starting even simpler, doing it, building that trust with yourself, and then continuing to add on more, layer in more. But what most people do instead is they say, this isn't enough, these small little steps. I'm not doing enough. And therefore, they start, trying to do everything. And then again, they fail, and then they beat themselves up more. And then they lose trust with themselves more. And eventually they just give up, or they burn out because they're like, I just can't do this. I have so many things I want to do. I'm never doing it. I can't trust myself. I don't honor my to-do list. And it becomes kind of like this self-deprecating cycle. So when you tell yourself, I'm going to break down my day, here's the promises I'm making to myself, I've broken it down to what I think is going to be really manageable, and I'm going to honor that commitment to myself, there's two things that are going to happen. One, when you follow it, you're going to build trust with yourself. You're going to realize, oh, okay, I actually can set goals and achieve them. I actually can break things down. I can do things without getting overwhelmed. That's the good first news. But the second thing that's going to happen, especially if you're a type A or perfectionist, is your brain is going to tell you you're not doing enough. Well, you did that, but it wasn't enough. You should have done way more. You could have done way more. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of this. The purpose is not to do everything at once. The purpose is to start being the kind of person who does what you say you're going to do, so that you can rely on yourself and you can start to actually more realistically plan your goals and your timeline and actually achieve them. Because when you tell yourself you haven't done enough, what does that do? It causes you to add more, and then you don't hit it. And then, as we talked about, you go back into that self-deprecating, beat-up cycle. And then you lose faith in yourself and your business and so on and so forth. So stop telling yourself you're not doing enough. Start telling yourself, my one job is to start honoring what's on my day's list and make it realistic enough that I truly feel, I could swear on my children's life or whatever, that I can do this. And if you're looking at the list and you don't feel that way, you've put too much on there to start. Okay? So breaking it down is going to be really important. The other thing that's going to be really important is making sure that you have what we call a constraint protocol. So if you are somebody who likes to listen to a lot of podcasts and be in group programs or whatever else, you're going to have a lot of inspiration from that, which is great, but you're also sometimes going to be tempted to jump ship to what someone else is doing just because you're hearing it and it sounds like a good idea and you think you should do that, and then it's going to cause you to maybe do things at the wrong time in your business, or again, not build trust with yourself because you jump to something else and then you halfway do it and then you hear another idea that you want to do and you jump to that, and so you don't have focus. So we have to have something to interrupt that pattern. We have to have something that interrupts the pattern of learning and listening and ideas, and actually you go doing something today that gets you closer to clients or potential partners or getting out in your community and getting visible. So we call that a constraint protocol. And for me, when I'm in group programs, I really love group programs. I learn a lot from them because sometimes I don't think of questions to ask that other people are asking. But what I do to prevent myself from jumping around and hearing what other people are doing and comparing myself and thinking I need to go do that and quitting whatever I'm working on to go work on something else is I have what I call a Trello board. It's a free project management tool, and I have different columns, and one of them's like stuff I got to do right now this week or over the next 2 weeks, or there will be consequences. Then I have another column that's like, you probably need to do this within the next month or so. And then I have like a later list where these are just cool ideas. These are my dream board list of ideas, and I want to revisit them someday, and I don't want to forget them, and it sounds really cool, but I know I don't really need to do it right now. And a lot of stuff goes on that list, and it helps my brain settle down and not completely jump ship from what I've decided based on my goals and my protocol, what I need to focus on, but it allows me to have it and save it and revisit it when I need to, right? So that's my constraint protocol, but what could your constraint protocol be if you find yourself falling into compare and despair, causing yourself to overlearn and not do? What's your constraint protocol? What is that pattern interrupt that gets you refocused and gets you doing something that you need to do today to get closer to potential clients or partners? And that leads me to my next tip, which is have questions for yourself to get yourself back to focused on what you need to do right now to move your business forward. So for me, for my clients, one of the things I shared recently is making sure you're asking yourself on a daily basis, does this activity put me in direct contact with a potential collab partner or a potential client or visibility that could grow my business? For most of you who are trying to get clients and that's your first goal, that's a good question to ask yourself. If you have different goals, maybe you're trying to create systems or something like that, then we probably change the question. But the point is, you got to have good questions to redirect yourself and know if what you're doing is on track or off track. And again, because you don't have a lot of trust with yourself as a new business owner, you got to make that question align with your goal so that when you do feel ungrounded because you don't know a lot about what you're doing yet and you're learning it, you can come back to that question and use that as kind of your guiding force, right? The other thing is, if you know certain things about your personality type, like you love spontaneity, or you love, you're the kind of, if you've ever done Gretchen Rubin's personality test online, she has like 4 different types of personality types, and one of them is called the obliger, meaning you need external accountability to do things, you thrive on that. There's like the upholder, there's other ones, but basically there is a certain type of person who does, like, you will show up to an appointment or a meeting or a party because you said you were going to be there, and you always do that. But then when it comes to holding yourself accountable for things you want to do, you don't do it because you're only letting yourself down, and for some reason for you that's not a big enough hold for you to do it. But if other people are involved, you always do it. If it's just you, you need that external accountability. So knowing that about yourself, you got to have something that allows you to not fall off track. You have to have some kind of way you're going to either set an appointment with yourself and honor it just like you do with other people, or accountability by having a coach or something, right? So to give you an example, one of my clients who built this in for herself, which is such a gift she gave herself, was, so she was a private client, and she every morning on her walk would have a routine of sending me a voice note of what she's going to work on for the day, what she feels stuck with, what was accomplished, yesterday, things like that. Like, here's the 3 things I'm going to do today. Here's where I might get stuck, or here's where I am stuck, and here's what was accomplished yesterday. And then at the end of the day, she'd kind of check in and be like, I did these things, or I didn't do these things, or here's what went well, or here's what didn't go well. And it allowed her to be able to stay connected to her goals and not drift and not get distracted and not try to do everything all at once. And it also allowed her to not lose patience because she was regularly evaluating, making progress, acknowledging her wins, even if it was, as we call, like in the health coaching world, you call it non-scale victories. In business coaching world, it might be I didn't get a client yet, or right away because you're planting the seeds, but like non-client victories where she's still moving closer to getting a client. And she's acknowledging those wins and how she's getting closer to it. Because when you don't, you tend to think, oh, what have I even done today? And then again, you like kind of spiral, or you like get frantic, like I need to do all these things all at once. You get impatient. But by acknowledging your wins and checking in regularly and evaluating regularly, you're going to move forward quicker. and you're going to have a way to stay connected and prevent drifting, which I think the biggest reason why people don't get clients is they start drifting from their goals. They stop being consistent, right? So that's the other thing, is think about, if you like to do everything all at once and you know you're the type of person who has certain traits that you got to make room for and account for to prevent derailing yourself, find out what those are and create something you're going to do to combat that. For my client who loves spontaneity, we have a buffet of options for her to choose from when it's her business time, and she can pick what she feels like that day, but all of them are good activities. All of them are aligned with her goals, and so we give her some more freedom in what she chooses to do for the day, but we're allowing her to use that spontaneity, but we're also creating enough structure that she still does something, right? So notice your patterns and make room for that. The other thing is, if you are the kind of person who does say, oh, I'm going too slow, I'm not doing enough, and then you end up either doing nothing because you're like, well, it's not even worth it, it's too slow. Just remember, slow is a lot faster than doing nothing. So I'd rather you be taking small steps that you don't think count enough and your brain arguing with you about that, than letting yourself be paralyzed and take no steps because you think it's too small to matter, it's not going to make a difference, that kind of thing. And the last thing I'll say, if you're the kind of person who likes to do everything, at some point you are going to have to delegate. You are going to have to, stop doing certain things to make room for other things. So one of the things that I do with one of my clients who is like, I got to do everything in my business, but she's really at a point where she needs to outsource, is she'll tell me, oh, it takes me longer. It takes me a shorter amount of time if I just go do it myself than to train somebody. So one of the things she's doing is she's starting to video herself while she's doing certain tasks just to save them to her arsenal to train someone later to do it for her. She's not putting a ton of pressure on herself, like I need to hire someone and have them do it this week, but she's starting to make those videos of herself training it, and then we're going to take the videos, we're going to transcribe them in AI, we're going to break that down into a standard operating procedure for a virtual assistant, and they're going to be able to take that task so that she doesn't have to do everything anymore every day. Okay? So these are just a couple tips. If you're getting stuck in trying to do everything, and then you end up either doing nothing or you end up doing sporadic things, and it's costing you clients, it's costing you focus, it's costing you consistency, you're at the same place or in a worse spot with your business, you got to start making some shifts, and you also have to start shifting your identity to not being the kind of person who beats yourself up all the time about being a perfectionist and actually allows yourself to take small, messy actions and start moving forward, even if it's slow, even if it's not at the pace you want, even if it's not you're doing every single thing that you wanted to on your to-do list. That's where it all starts to build the trust with yourself. And if you are really stuck about how do I prioritize which things I should be doing, how do I focus on the marketing activities that matter, these are the kinds of things I work on with clients in the inner circle. So if you're curious about how I work with clients privately or in the inner circle, you can book a free consult at HaileyRowe.com. We'll talk more about your goals, what's holding you back in your business, whether it's personal or more strategic problems you're having, and we'll create a path forward for you with my Fastway framework that we can work on together. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks so much for listening to this podcast, and if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful, and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.